You know, it's interesting with the division energy that we're talking about a lot as a community. We're talking about this widening division in our world, or what appears to be a very divisive energy that is very visible to us in a way that it wasn't 20, 30 years ago. It wasn't so much in collective consciousness. You could argue that the internet has completely shifted the way that news used to be funneled to us. And now there are so many voices and opinions that we get to see that division more. But you're also seeing people who are becoming more activated to their emotions, to their thoughts about the world, to their sense of what the world might need. And as is often the case, there can be a righteousness and a fight that comes up that's driven by fear of survival and fear of not getting supremacy. You know, it's a very interesting fine line when you become a dictator around your cause, around your activism. And my personal philosophy, which might be very different to all of yours, is I do come back to, quite regularly as a practice, I come back to the fact that I'm not actually in control of anything that's going on the planet right now. I can influence and I can create, but it's not my job to control or dictate or influence millions and billions of people into my way, because I'm actually here as part of a group. And I think that a lot of the division energy that we see is that emotion of, which can sometimes seem dictatorial, like, you shouldn't be doing this. And if you really listen to the emotion and the energy in someone's words when they're speaking that way, you can quite clearly separate the words from the energy. It would be one thing if I said, you really shouldn't be cutting down all of the rainforests. You really shouldn't be, and here's why. And it's another thing if I go, you really shouldn't be cutting down all the rainforests. Now, I think the words are true. I think the words in that sentence are truth. But there are two different ways that I am pulsating my own energy, my own emotion, my own reaction through those words. So before you get yourself caught in a fight or a reaction with somebody, and this is very important because astrologically, someone just told me that Mars has gone retrograde. Now, I don't study astrology, but they were saying that it's a very specific period of time, and I hope I've got that right. I'm pretty sure it's Mars, but if anyone out there is studying the astrology, feel free to correct me. But that basically we're going to have a couple of months that are very fiery, and it will end on November the 14th. So that makes a lot of sense to me, because before I heard that, I'd been getting this energy for September and October and November as quite an intense time. And even me saying that may have just freaked some of you out. So notice that. If you heard me say that and you immediately go, oh, it's going to be intense, oh my God. That's your nervous system telling you, I need space. Because if your nervous system is ready to be scared about an intense time on Earth, it means you haven't been able to recover from what you've just been through, which is good information, because then you're like, oh God, I'm a bit vulnerable right now. I haven't got over what's just gone on the last few months. So I'd better lie low in the next month as much as I can. I'd better take care of myself and soothe my own nervous system, soothe my own feelings, not necessarily go to the nearest political rally by me if I think that's going to rile me up. And the reason I bring this up is when we listen to the emotion that people are running, as much as we listen to the words that they're saying that might trigger our own thoughts or our own reactions or our own wanting to fight, you quite clearly start to see the state of someone's being in the way that they're talking. And I'm as human as the rest of you, and I will sometimes have my own reactions come up, or if I haven't caught my own state, then I will have to just take a moment to breathe and to center and to just notice. But one thing I have got good at these days is I notice when I'm off quite quickly. I no longer can be off and running myself into the world when I'm off. I notice something's off balance. Most people don't. I'm going to say that again. Most people don't know they're off balance when they're off balance. Most people don't. And it's no one's fault. We weren't taught. We've never really been trained around our emotional health, our emotional well-being. So you see a lot of drama and fight and sensationalism and reaction playing out in our collective. And much of the time, you won't see that, or you won't be someone who is bringing that to the world, or you will be drawn to people where that's not going on in a big way. But remember, in a time such as this, and this is something the Z's and the messages I've been called to give keep bringing to us, in a time such as this, it's all coming up. So be very mindful of the part of you that is horrified, terrified, or overwhelmed by the fact it's all coming up. That's great information. If I'm overwhelmed, if I'm horrified, if I'm terrified, there's really one thing I should do, and it's to carve out some space and some healing for myself. Whether that's talking to a friend about it, whether that's taking myself off to a healing session, speaking to a therapist, writing down some of my thoughts. What are my biggest fears right now? What's going on? Channeling for myself, meditating. There are so many things that we can do for self-care. You know, our self-care toolkit that we can apply anytime we're aware we're off. But the reason I bring this up is time and time again, the Z's will keep talking to me about the level of cosmic energy and power that is hitting the planet right now. And my human empathic self struggles to say things like that sometimes when I'm aware there will be a group of you who are listening to me or watching this, and you're like, well, I'm not feeling anywhere near my power. I'm feeling down the hole. And I always have empathy for that because I've been down the hole several times myself in my life, and I know what that's like. And when you're there, it's tough. And it doesn't necessarily help to hear that there's power and energy and goodness hitting people. I also think it's a controversial thing to be saying at a time where so many of us are heartbroken about some of the things that we're seeing in the world. Because I can be as heartbroken about something while also understanding there is a bigger plan at work. I can be in both states. I, at a soul level, can understand that everything's playing out exactly as it's meant to. And on a human level, I can feel very sad about something that I see or feel that has impacted and burst a certain sadness or a certain loss. So I can have a foot in both worlds. Sometimes I'm more in one world than the other. It just depends on the day or the scenario. But I can live in both. And for those of you that live in both, be very mindful about balancing both for yourself in the coming weeks and months. There is a time to be with your friends deep in the body around everything that's going on Earth. And then there is a time to return to the soul and to come back to the soul energy and to come back to your spirit and to really tap into that vastness that you are, that's bigger than your human personality, you know, who I am as Lee, who's had this specific life so far. We're all, on a soul level, very vast beings. And the vastness of us came here to learn how to be bigger, fuller, and more present on the planet at this time. And let me qualify, being bigger and fuller often means becoming what would appear to be more introverted. I think we have this, you know, human programming. Oh, if I was bigger and more empowered, I'd be out there doing my thing and telling everybody on my street how I feel about everything. And actually, that can be the worst thing you could possibly do, to be more in your presence if you haven't grounded who you are yet and you haven't balanced in yourself your own alignment with your own ability to communicate to others. Because at first, that can be you forcing something into the outside world that you haven't yet embodied. I don't mean to speak in too abstract a way, by the way. I'm just I'm kind of just touching on, and I'm realizing this as I'm speaking, an energetic roadmap for the next month or two. I think at a time like this, where we can see and feel there is a lot of human need around us and a lot of crisis energy hitting people in different ways, more than ever before, it can be counterintuitive to rest, to pull back, to give yourself space. If you've got 4 kids, you're like, how the hell do I give myself space right now when they're all at home? But we have to find those pockets, whatever they are. And those pockets for you might mean the kids get looked after once a week or once every 2 weeks for a few hours, and that's enough. It might mean you listening to music with your headphones on for 20 minutes at night before you go to bed, separate from your partner, your kids, anybody, just to give you some you time. But for others among you, especially those of you who aren't in such traditional family organizations, or your kids have grown, or you don't have kids, this is a really big time to pull in and be with yourself as often as you can in order to weather the storm that's going on outside. Because the storm outside is going to be seductive, it's going to be noisy, it's going to keep spinning. And for those of you who feel quite lonely at this time, especially if you're living alone right now and COVID has put a limit on how much you can see and be with other people, one of the things that will be good for you to do, of course, as well as making sure that you're contacting various people in whatever ways you can so that you're filling up your cup of contact enough. Create. If you're in a more limited life because you're more alone, create, and create differently. It won't necessarily fulfill you to create the way that you've always created, because you probably would have been doing that right now. You probably wouldn't feel quite as lonely because you would have found purpose in that creation. But it might be doing something new. It might be writing, and you've always wanted to write, but you've never quite done it. You've never quite taken the time. So I'm not trying to force you into creating, if that's not really your thing. But why I say that is this energy that I'm talking about that has a certain power to it right now, this cosmic energy that those who are awake and sensitive are very aware of and are able to receive. It wants to come in and through the body, and it wants to be expressed. So us creating is a way of moving energy through our body and out. Whether you're writing, whether you're cooking, whether you're reorganizing your house, we're moving our energy. And often what can happen with loneliness is our energy has got stuck. And our energy is not connecting. We feel disconnected. We feel lonely because we can't find anything to connect with or anybody to connect with. And sometimes we assume that we need that to be people. So if you are feeling lonely at the moment, ask yourself in the next month if you would be willing to just hold a space to let something new come in for you. I will hold a space to allow some new creative endeavor to come to me. And then back up that intention with action, which if you've been with me for a while, you know I'm fond of. It's like it's one thing to say, I really want to meet my partner. If you then refuse to go anywhere, refuse to go to any dinner parties, refuse to leave the house, and you won't go on a dating website, you're putting some limits there on your intention. And actually we're supposed to be co-creative with our intentions. So for you, it might be trying a few creative things to see if you can find a thread. And it's not about distracting yourself, and it's not about finding something to pass the time. It's about connecting deeply with something at a time in history where all of these routine disruptions have changed the way that energy is landing on the planet, meaning there are new threads that you can catch that you perhaps couldn't have caught quite as easily in 2019 when all the patterns and all the distraction was there. So I say that to any of you who feel lonely at the moment, to see what you can find in your relationship with creativity. Hi, you've been watching an extract from one of my monthly broadcasts for our portal community, the Energy Tune-Up. Every month I do them for 90 minutes, and I also take questions both from my own vantage point as an energy intuitive. And then I channel my guides, the Z's, and they interact with the questions in our community. So here is a little glimpse into what you experience as a portal member in case you wanted to consider trying it out for a month and seeing if it's for you. Thanks for tuning in. Welcome to The Portal. The Portal is my monthly members community, and we have been going for almost 8 years. Some have called it a sanctuary for sensitives. It's a place where I get to offer you tools to help you thrive, survive, and expand your life. So every month I get to bring in-depth teaching, specially curated content, and we do all of this in a private community. Over the years, my energy updates have become popular, but the thing about reading for everybody and the amount of people who tune into those now is we don't always necessarily get to specify. Every month, I do a 90-minute live broadcast, which is archived and available for replays for many months afterwards, where not only do I do an in-depth energy read for the Portal member community, I also take live questions. So we have some pre-submitted questions, but we have a lot of live on-air questions. I stopped doing personal sessions a couple of years ago, so this is a great way to get your question answered, but also through this curated questioning, we get to uplift as a community because the thoughts, the concerns, the hopes that are on the community's mind get looked at, and the energy tune-up becomes a healing call as a result. Secondly, you will receive that month's latest MP3. Every single month, we create a brand new MP3 that is usually a channel from my guides, the Z's, with sound healing and often with an original song at the end, which I create in collaboration with Slovenian sound healer and composer Davor Bozik. These MP3s are designed to support you with what's going on in current energies and essentially to be an hour of audio medicine that you can listen to that month and forever in the future. Many people revisit these MP3s time and time again. We also have a classics library, 8 of my past titles that are favorites that rotate every 5 months so that you get to go deeper with some recordings you may have otherwise missed or not been able to find in the past. Stephen Washington, my husband, delivers Qigong videos and teaching every single month that's exclusive to those of you in the portal. He creates a Qigong sequence that he bases on the themes of that month's energy update. Usually this is around 30 minutes long, and it remains in the portal as an archive for a full year after its first broadcast. So you immediately have access to 12 Qigong sequences on video from Stephen. Stephen also creates a short meditation every single month. These are around 7-8 minutes long because I wanted them to be short enough for you to use very easily, and he has created these with Davor Bozik. As a welcome bonus gift, when you join the portal, you will find Intuitive Power, the full video recording of our one-day event in London that kicked off our Intuitive Power tour. It's approximately 5 hours. It features myself and Stephen. If you've never been able to get to a live event, it's a great way to experience the live energy in the room and also learn some things about intuition, your body, and wellness along the way. And finally, my favorite thing is our Facebook community. Our Facebook community is a private group, so it allows people to have discussions, engage with each other, and support each other in the privacy of a contained group. So along with special discounts for Portal members, we managed to bring all of this to you at an incredibly affordable fee every month. So if you want to try the Portal, see if it resonates with you for a month, we would love to have you join us, try it out, and we hope you stay because we love serving our members and we love curating and creating the Portal every single month.